The day began in the stillness of early morning, long before the bustle of Washington awoke. By 6:30 a.m., I was already seated in the Oval Office, a steaming cup of coffee on the desk beside me as the first light crept across the horizon. Ted Sorensen was the first to join me, his sharp blue eyes scanning a stack of documents in his hand. "Mr. President," he began without preamble, "the situation in Laos is escalating faster than we anticipated. The latest CIA reports indicate heavy communist backing of the path at Laos. We're nearing a point of no return." His words hung in the air, their gravity undeniable. I took a moment before responding, sipping my coffee as I studied the map laid out before me. "Ted," I said finally, "this isn't just about Laos. It's about the message we send to the world. If we falter here, we risk more than just one nation falling to communism. We risk our credibility." By 7:30 a.m., the cabinet room was alive with voices, each one carrying the weight of authority and expertise. Dean Rusk, always measured and precise, led the briefing. "Mr. President, gentlemen," he began, gesturing to a large map pinned to the wall. "The path at Laos gains in the north are significant. They've secured supply lines from North Vietnam and are receiving substantial Soviet and Chinese support. If we don't act soon, the Royal Lao government will collapse." Robert McNamara leaned forward, his hands clasped tightly as he spoke. "Jack, our intelligence is clear. The domino theory isn't just an abstraction. If Laos falls, it could trigger a chain reaction across Southeast Asia. We need to consider deploying military advisors to stabilize the situation." Lyndon Johnson, ever the pragmatist, added his voice to the discussion. "Jack, the American people need to see strength from their president. If we back down here, it'll look like we're soft on communism. And let me tell you, the Soviets will be watching. They're looking for any sign of weakness." The room buzzed with tension as voices clashed, each argument adding a new dimension to the debate. But George Bundy, my national security advisor, was one of the few who urged caution. "Mr. President," he said, his tone deliberate, "we need to consider the long-term implications of military intervention. Escalation could draw us into a broader conflict, one we're not prepared for." At one point, I raised my hand, signaling for silence. "Gentlemen," I said, my voice cutting through the din, "this is a decision that will define our administration and, perhaps, the future of American foreign policy. We must act, but we must act wisely. Let's not rush into a course of action without fully understanding its consequences." After the meeting, I found a moment of quiet in the Oval Office. Jackie joined me shortly after, her presence as calming as the soft winter sunlight streaming through the windows. She sat beside me on the couch, her hand resting on my arm. "Jack," she said softly, her voice steady and reassuring, "you've always known how to navigate these moments. Trust your instincts. You have a way of seeing the bigger picture, even when others can't." Her words, as they often did, gave me the clarity I needed to face the day ahead. The afternoon brought a meeting with Adlai Stevenson, our ambassador to the United Nations. We walked through the Rose Garden, the crisp January air invigorating our conversation. Adlai, ever the idealist, was passionate about the role of diplomacy. "Jack," he said, his voice brimming with conviction, "the United Nations can be a powerful tool for resolving this crisis. But we must lead by example. If America doesn't take a stand, the UN will falter." "Adlai," I replied, "I believe in the power of diplomacy, but we must also recognize its limits. The world is watching, and our actions must reflect both our values and our resolve. Let's work together to find a solution that upholds our principles without compromising our strength." As the day progressed, the weight of the decisions we faced grew heavier. Robert Kennedy, my brother and Attorney General, joined me for a private conversation in the Oval Office. "Bobby," I said, "this isn't just about Laos. It's about the kind of country we want to be. Do we act out of fear, or do we act out of principles?" Bobby nodded, his expression serious. "Jack, the world is looking to you for leadership. You've got the courage to make the tough calls, and the heart to make the right ones. Trust yourself." The evening brought a formal dinner in the state dining room, where diplomats, military leaders, and political figures gathered. Jackie, as always, was the picture of elegance, her grace lighting up the room. She moved effortlessly among the guests, engaging each one with her warmth and charm. At one point, she leaned over to me and whispered, "Jack, don't forget to smile. A little lightness can go a long way." As the dinner wound down, I found myself in a quiet conversation with Arthur Schlesinger Jr., my advisor and historian. "Arthur," I said, "today was one of those days that reminds me how fragile leadership can be. Every decision feels like a tightrope walk, with the stakes higher than anyone can truly comprehend." Arthur nodded thoughtfully. "Jack," he replied, "leadership isn't about certainty. It's about making the best possible choice with the information you have, and trusting that your principles will guide you through the unknown." Now, as the clock ticks past midnight, I sit alone at the resolute desk, the events of the day replaying in my mind. The clash of ideas, the weight of responsibility, and the unrelenting demand for courage. This is the essence of leadership. To those who may read this in the years to come, let me offer this reflection. Leadership is not about avoiding conflict or seeking comfort. It's about facing challenges head-on, guided by principles that stand the test of time. It's about making decisions that honor the past while building a future worthy of those who will inherit it. Today, we faced a clash of ideas, a debate that tested our unity and resolve. But in that clash, I saw the strength of our democracy, the ability to argue passionately, to disagree respectfully, and to find common ground. Let us never forget that our greatest strength lies in our shared commitment to the values that define us. As I sign off tonight, I carry with me the lessons of the day, the importance of courage, the power of unity, and the enduring strength of hope. John F. Kennedy.